origin of institution. All of participants are expected to mute the audio and only unmute the video during the event. We cordially invite you to take your own firm and comfort seat in your own room and please avoid the backlight. Make sure that you have a good and stable internet connection. If you have an earphone or headset, we recommend you to use it so that your voice can clearly and loudly to be heard. During the Q&A discussion session, all participants, please use the chat box to deliver the questions. Thank you for your cooperation and consideration. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before we start commence the program, and here are the following webinar protocol. For each participant ID, please use your real name following with your origin of institution. All of participants are expected to mute the audio and only unmute the video during the event. We cordially invite you to take your own firm and comfort seat in your own room and please avoid the backlight. Make sure that you have a good and stable internet connection. If you have an earphone or headset, we recommend you to use it so that your voice can clearly and loudly to be heard. During the Q&A discussion session, all participants, please use the chat box to deliver the questions. Thank you for your cooperation and consideration.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your coming to the Researcher and Research Student Enrichment Program. This is the final session of Soft Engineering stream. Today, we will have a topic of life strategy as a researcher. Before we start the program, there is some webinar protocols that you should read for a while. Okay, please move to the next slides. Welcome to the speaker, Associate Professor Bon Chung Chiu from University Technical Malaysia, Malacca, and also Bapak Astria Nur Irfan Shah, PhD, Institut Teknologi 10 November as the moderator. Please next. Before we start the sessions, I would like to read the summary of the curriculum vitae of Bapak Astria Nur Irfan Shah, PhD. He is a lecturer and researcher at Electrical Engineering Department at Institut Teknologi 10 November. He is also a senior manager for international partnership at ITS Global Engagement. He got the PhD from the University of New South Wales. For the brief profile, at 2021 until present, Bapak Astria is the Vice Secretary, IEEE, Industrial Electronics Society Indonesia Chapter. And during 2012 until 2016, he became the lab demonstrator at University of New South Wales, Australia. His research interest is mixed signal circuits design, FLSI, stochastic circuits, microelectronics, and embedded systems. Before we start the program, there is an opening remark from Bapak Asria Nur Irfan Shah, PhD. For Bapak Asria, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ms. Yashinta, for the introduction. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. My name is Irfan, and I will become the moderator. But before that, on behalf of the RTS Global Engagement, I would like to also mention some things. But before that, I would just like to also highlight that this remark was meant to be delivered by Ibu Maria, Dr. Maria Anitiasari, our Director of Global Engagement. Unfortunately, is feeling unwell today, so she cannot come. So let me give some remarks on this final session, of the R2SEP program, or the way we usually like to say it in our group is recipe, just like the recipe to cook meal, specifically for the soft engineering stream. So this is the 8th session, and in fact, I have some slides that I would like to share, a bit of reflection of what we have so far. If I can share my slides quickly. So hopefully it's just will be short. So based on the feedback form that all of you have submitted, most of you are master students and 13% doctoral students, and surprisingly almost the same amount of doctoral students that are the undergraduate students. And there was this question in the form: how well did you understand the subjects from the sessions? Well, luckily, most of you gained good understanding of the subject, and half of you did, and maybe 38-40%, which is still most of you gained good understanding, and some average understanding. Well, we hope you did gained something from this program. And regarding how interesting the materials were, that's a different story. More people find the subjects interesting. Yeah, maybe especially I think for master students who probably just recently graduated, or maybe you who are in the industry or in the government may not realize how research world is. So this might some of the information might be new for you, and just to remind us all, the topics that we have in this RECEP program is something like this. And today we're at our final session delivered by our special guest today. I'll introduce you to him. I'll introduce you about him soon. Why he's special. We're in the last session, which is life strategy as a researcher. All right, so I think that's all for the quick review. Because we already have Professor Chu with us today, I will skip asking some of the participants of their opinions, and I think that's it for myself, Mbak Yashinta. There is no actual remarks. I hope everyone gained something very useful out of this, and we hope to our partner universities we can keep collaborating for mutual benefit. Thank you. That's all for me, Mbak Yashinta. Do I start with the introduction of the speaker, or I'll just give it back to you first? Thank you. Ms. Yashinta, you're still muted. Are you trying to say something?
I'm sorry. You may go on with the introduction of
okay.
this.
All right. Thank you for that. Now let's move on to the main agenda. Please, for the committee to go to the next slide. So before we start the presentation by Professor Boon Chong Chu from University Technical Malaysia Malacca, UTM, let me read his biography. So he is an associate professor with the Department of Technology Management, Faculty of Technology Management and Technopreneurship, FPTT, UTM. Before we continue, let me try to guess. FPTT, is it in Malay? Yeah? Faculty, Technology, Technopreneurship. I don't know the P. I give up. He's also Deputy Director of Strategy and Internationalization, UTM International Center, UTM. He's a visiting researcher. Maybe he was or he's still a visiting researcher with the University of Edinburgh, 2019. He received his PhD in Science and Technology Studies, the University of Edinburgh, 2012. Master in Technology Management Technology from University Teknologi Malaysia, UTM, 2003. He received his Bachelor of Civil Engineering from UTM, Malaysia, the year 2000. And I think there's one thing missing here. Professor Chu has been recently assigned or appointed as a adjunct professor with us, with ITS. Thank you very much, Professor Chu. I understand that there might be some language, what do you call it, mistranslation, or maybe some formatting error. Hopefully, Ibu Maria will send you an email to confirm that soon. And his research interest is in renewable energy development and deployment, clean technology innovation and introduction, sustainability practices, sustainability management, blue technology innovation and management, and carbon management. So that is why Professor Chu is special, my dear students, because he's an adjunct professor with ITS and one of the few adjunct professors that we started to have this year. So without wasting more time, I'll give the floor directly to Professor Chu, please. So you can start your presentation. I think about 1 hour, 50 or 15 minutes, something like that. Thank you very much. Please, Professor.
Okay, right. Thank you, Dr. Irfan. It's nice to see you. And thank you for the introduction from Yashinta, as well as the sharing for the profile backgrounds for the students, so that I can slightly understand what are the compositions of the students that the participants that we have here. So I found out that undergraduates, doctorates, masters, as well as lecturers. So I will say thank you for having me, and I'm very happy to come back. That is the second session, second talk for this R2 SAP, and I'm glad that I'm back for the final round for myself. Okay, to kickstart, I would like to say that don't worry about the materials, because I already have these materials uploaded at this BCQ slide share, if you're able to Google it. So everything is quite easy and handy. So if you get back to BCQ slide share, then you're able to come to my page. Okay, so that is the documents that I've uploaded previously. And I hope that with these, then you're able to get some of the information. And hopefully also this will be useful for you after the session is completed. Okay, so at first, thank you for the invitation. I knew that Prof. Maria, she is not here, so I wish her well. And we'll kickstart with our outcome at the first stage. Now, I've been understand that the outcome for this R2 SAP under this final topic would help to understand the real life as a research postgraduate students. And hopefully from this small talk, right, we are able to guide the postgraduate students to prepare themselves for the challenges. And the third one is to develop the postgraduate students to be productive researcher in the long term. Okay, so for continuous long life learning. Right. So the first questions that I would like to ask all of you, even though maybe you are right now, you're on your undergraduates, or maybe you're in your master's degree, or you are in a doctorate. So I'm not sure whether do you aware, apart from those soft skills that we always being taught, for example, team playing, public speaking, right? So you know that and you aware that the research skills are equally important. So that is the new things that I think all of us has to acquire ourselves, because research skills is the one that can be demonstrated under your CV in the future. So it basically encompasses in terms of the experience that you gain through where you are undergraduate, masters, or doctorates from the experience that you got through, the ability for you to come up with a logical and scientific process, and obviously involve the growth, because along the process of the research skills acquirement, you are basically expose yourself to the higher thinking level. Okay, so it is always at the Bloom taxonomy, the highest, where you come up with something we call as a creation. And throughout these research skills, before you get that, you also got advanced training. I believe apart from those writing skills, research skills also comes into your qualitative, your quantitative, or any software masteries, as well as any simulations you're able to get through. And all of this will become the knowledge for yourself. And after that, you go through the process of learning through putting yourself into different of the research projects. And after that, you're able to provide yourself with the competence. That's the reason why I said to you and I shared to you that the research skills are right now very, very important, apart from those that you remember or you realize sort of like presentation and so forth. Then after that, you can, with the competence that you have, you can start to provide training to share with your peers, even to other people, so that you also can relearn the entire process, right? So life strategy as a researcher, that we'll look at the postgraduate students to commence our talk. So at the first stage, I understand that either you are master by research or doctorate by research, or maybe you are taking master or doctorate with a coursework, but you need to produce an academic research thesis. Most of you under this situation, you are working closely with your supervisor as well as your teammates. Okay, if you have a teammate with you, working with your supervisors, then you are very lucky because you are not working alone. Apart from that, we found out that the by research, okay, particularly on the master by research, as well as the doctorate by research, these will take up the entire period of the studies. That's why sometimes the students start to feel, if they are working alone, they'll feel lonely. However, for doctor or master, which you are taking up for coursework, and you need to produce an academic research thesis, so even though it's a small element for that, basically you are being trained to do a proper research. Okay, so I think these 10 items are quite handy and quite ring the bells, because usually you're being asked along the process on what are the things that should come out when you go for your research project. So the first one, I think most of you being asked, what are the research ideas? Yes, is that clear? Right? Sorry. So your first thing you'll be going to be asked is, what are the research ideas that you have? So most of us, we're coming up with the idea that we would like to pursue, right? Then after that, with the idea that you have, then you match with the field of your studies, manufacturing, construction, might be electrical, mechanical. So it comes into the field of your studies. Then after that, you're being asked about the research problem. Now, most of the students got themselves into the problem. By definition, they think it's all the challenges, the difficulties. But sometimes put aside another side of view, you will realize that the research problem also carrying the meaning of what makes the research worth to be investigated. Okay, so that is the one that we should highlight ourselves. And remember, apart from the problem that we are thinking, research problem also signifies and also tells us what are the values and what makes our research interesting and why do we want to start to do our research. And then after that, with that well-defined research problem, it comes to the research questions, the research objectives, right? Then after that, you will be asked by your supervisors to construct the literature review, where you need to start to find the theoretical foundation, the theoretical preposition, or maybe some of you might have heard the terms called underpinning theory. So these are all under the context of how are you going to identify the theory in order to guide your study. Now remember, because we all under academic research as a postgraduate students or the final year undergraduate students, so we need to depart somewhere from the theoretical preposition. And then it makes our academic research unique and solid. Then after that, you'll be asked about the research methods, right? Qualitative, quantitative, observation, simulation, any kind of methods which will derive your data into the coming outcome. And after that, you'll go for your data collection, right? And after that, you will pursue with your data analysis, which meant that you want to come up with the research outcomes, which definitely will going to answer your research question in number 4, as well as to achieve your research objective in number 4. And finally, you are making your contribution academically, theoretically, knowledge, or empirically, or practically. So all of these are the terms that we get used to. And most of us under the postgraduate studies, even though the undergraduate final year students as well, you are putting all of these elements into a thesis. And the thesis basically is the one that tries to show what are the activities, what are the steps that you have done in order to record the entire research process. Okay, and then you're working closely with the supervisor. And I hope that those already at the end of the stage, you know, the final year PhD or final year masters or final year undergraduates, you were able to help for your juniors to let them to more understand in terms of these jargons or these, you know, abstract ideas, and then help them to master all of these. Obviously, the research project is an academic research, and the ultimate contribution of your academic research are or is, first one is apply the theory into your research. Now, some of us, we have a concept or a theoretical concept or a theoretical framework that we really read from our literature review, and it has been done, for example, somewhere in the United Kingdom or maybe somewhere in Australia. And after that, we would like to apply in Indonesia, for example. So that is the one that we call as apply the theory into your research project. Second one is verify the theory from your research. Now, perhaps this is the one that we'll call as a verification, because the theory has been developed before. It has been conducted somewhere, for example, in Malaysia. But right now you want to put into Indonesia, and after that, you want to verify the theory out from there. The third one would be, you would like to construct a new knowledge or new theory from your research. And this is the one that mostly falls under the doctorate students, where you have to come up what we call as a theoretical contribution, okay? In order to construct a new knowledge, push a little bit the boundaries of the existing theory, topping up the theory from your research, make something new for the theoretical contribution. So the C item would mostly fall for the doctorate students. And last one, provide solution for practical application. I think most of us, we cannot avoid ourselves. No matter you're falling under the academic research, you also need to relate your research contribution to the practicality, right? How far your research able to solve the industrial problem, the scientific problems, the bottlenecks that we are facing right now. So in order to push forward the practical application. That's the reason why you found out that the life of a research student under undergraduate final year or postgraduate studies, you were able to juggle in between A, B, C, D, or any combination of it. It really depends on the research that you have designed, as well as what is the contribution that you would like to do. So just now I highlighted, the doctorate students will mostly go for the C item, which is construct new knowledge or theory from your research. And at the same time, undergraduate, postgraduate, you also need to come up with the provide solution for the practical application. Okay. And next one, after you have done your research, now you have already documented everything in terms of the activities, the process into your thesis. But why publication is the one that you should do? Because after you have done your research, you put it into your thesis, but not everyone able to reach your thesis. You know, the thesis will belong to the university. The thesis will be kept in a library, for example. And because we need to share the findings, it is interesting for people to know what have you done, what have you found. So publication is meant to share and disseminate your academic work, academic finding, or any knowledge to the subject you already researched. And also you can able to call the interest of other researchers in your field. Now, obviously, publication is the widest coverage that you're able to do. You know, when I was a young lecturer at that time, after completed my thesis, the first thing I was thinking was I conducted talk. But you know, during that time, we always understand how far we can reach a wider audience via talk. I can't always do talking, am I right? I can't always buy my time talking to different time zones. As also limitation, cost, etc., will stop me from reaching a wider population, a wider audience via using the medium of my verbal communication. So in such a case, we found out that another way for people to able to follow your research outcome, whatever that you have done, is through publication. Now, publication, it can go for many ways. It can go even as simple like you publish in academic magazines, you publish in scientific journals, you go for conference and you publish in the proceedings, you write and publish as a book, you publish as a book chapters. All of these publications are meant to disseminate the knowledge to a larger and a bigger audience later. And obviously, under the publication, there are always challenges. I mean, the first one would be the academic paper writing skill. Okay, this is something different. It's definitely going to be different from writing up your thesis chapter, because you found out that each of the journals, proceedings, books, chapters have their own format of writing. And don't forget as well, all of these journals, proceedings, book chapters, magazines, they have their page limitation or even words limitation. So some of the students, they always think, okay, can I just cut and paste whatever I have in a thesis and put into the journal, the proceedings, the book chapters, or even magazine? Now, if I honestly tell you, when I was a young lecturer, I did that. And I found out that I could not reach to a better types of publication, you know, because my thinking was just transform whatever I have in my thesis, then after that put into the journal, the proceedings, the book chapter, as well as the magazine. And I found out that that way is basically a shortcut that pushed myself for the publication, which by the end of the day, I never relearned. So what you should do is, thesis is the one that records all of your research evidence, activities, and the process that you have taken place. Whereas for journals, it's another condensation of all the academic activities, but not looking at what you have done, instead what you have found. What you have found. What makes your evidence so interesting? What are the outcomes? That are the important things, you know, in order to be shared into the journals, the proceedings, the book chapters, as well as into the academic magazines. That's why you found out that sometimes when there are some word limitation as well as the pages limitation, it tells you that you need to be very selective by looking at only those essence of the essence, or we call as the most important things in order to be placed into your academic journals, proceedings, book chapters, as well as the academic magazine. Okay. Now, the second problem that all of us will face, believe me, I'm also gone through this process. It is the time to get your article published. You will obviously face a lot of rejections, you know, and then as well as a lot of corrections. I can be honest to you, some of the correction I need to make is more than 3 times. Now, obviously, all of these, I tell it myself as an opportunity for me to learn, okay? And that is the very, I would say, the appreciative, as well as something that's so memorable for me to know what are my weaknesses, reflect myself, and after that, learn from the panels or the reviewer. So time to get your article published, that is the biggest challenges, because it's not all the articles you send will be accepted, and even accepted also you need to bear with the numerous correction phases you need to get through. And the last one is academic English language in writing. This is totally different from the spoken English. And that's why some of us will always think, oh, I speak very well, I listen very well, so I can write very well. Not really sometimes. It is not because of the language or English proficiency, no. It is basically the technique and the skills that you really have to master when you do your academic English writing. It is another way. You know, it's nothing to do with your incompetence or your weaknesses. No, it is just another training that you need to go through so that you able equip yourself and then you're able to publish easily. Okay. And the challenges of the postgraduate students, either you go for the full research mode, master's or PhD, or even you have a small research project like dissertation or the coursework. So academically, these are the ones that we found out, you know, as the way that we collect our feedback from our students, where students usually have the difficulty and challenges in terms of deciding the topic for a research, what they want to do. You know, sometimes they might have 1, 2, 3, 4, and they ask them, okay, can you tell me which one do you like? You know, the students to come back to you, sir, I want to do 1, 2, and 3. I say, no, take 1. Okay, I want to come A and B. I say, no, 1 or 2. Which one do you really like? You just choose one only. Okay. And after that, also, you also found out that academically, there are challenges in terms of the fundamental knowledge. How much do you really go for your understanding in terms of the theory? That's the reason why I always encourage the students to go for the best subject ever that you can master, the most favorite subject that you ever learn, because you have to understand the research should demonstrate your strength, not demonstrate your weaknesses. I mean, for example, if let's say like there are 5 subjects, okay, I'm very good at subject A, I should consider about doing my research in a subject A instead of doing subject E, which is I'm not good at. Then the next one will be the academic capacity in terms of finding materials. How much the literature, the latest journals, books, data that accessible, right? How much training that you have already mastered in terms of the research method? Have you already overcome some of the weaknesses? Do you know that statistical analysis are different from the qualitative data analysis? Do you know simulation? You need to come up with a model. That are the considerations that you always need to understand. Then after that, do you need to use software? Is it your software up to date? Is it your software available in the university for you to use? Academic writing, how are you going to differentiate between the format, the way of writing a thesis and an academic journals or academic articles? They are different, they are not the same. And obviously the last one would be the contribution. How do you contribute? How does your research outcome, your final findings will be able to contribute? Right? Remember, it has to be contributive to the practicality of it, as well as the doctorate students has to think about contribute in terms of the theory or knowledge development. I think personally, number 1 until number 7, if you're really close with your supervisor, working closely with him or her, most of this issue can be helped when you refer and discuss with your supervisor, your departments, or your faculties. Now, from time to time, you also should, talking to your colleagues in the same departments. If let's say like someone who's also doing the PhD, master's, undergraduate programs, the theses, always discuss with them, do a lot of discussion, brainstorming. It will make the things easier for you to comprehend. On the other hand, the challenges of the postgraduate students, either you're full research or you're conducting a research project, the personal and psychological challenges are sometimes become another issue. Now, I would say that those students who are under self-sponsored, or they are coming by their own financial, they always have the challenges in terms of how are they going to manage in terms of financial management. Some of them need to find a research grant, which is not easy, particularly right now, the world is facing the pandemic, all the budgets and as well as the research grant are being slashed. So you would find out that it is always frustrating, definitely, in order to find a research grant which can support your studies. Secondly, time management. Now, I always tell my students, when you look at the program duration, in Malaysia, UTAM, for example, 2 years for masters, 3 to 4 years for PhD. I always tell them that the time management is upon your arrangement. And time slips through the fingers easily if you haven't realized or you never prepared for it. That's the reason why I would recommend all of you, if possible, utilize a proper Gantt chart to control in terms of the time management. Now, some of you might be feeling isolated, okay? Particularly those master or PhD students, you're working your result alone, your supervisors do not have any supervisee, sometimes it happens. Or maybe you found out that your supervisor students graduated, just left you up there. So you also found lonely, you're found discouraged, dismotivated. Sometimes it happens. That's the reason why, as a research student, you should not always isolate yourself. Remember, meet more people, talking to more people, and after that, when you're able to exchange ideas, sometimes it gives you some elevation in terms of the help, in terms of the motivation to keep you further. Next, number 4 is the relationship with your supervisor. Now, if you have a positive relationship so far with the supervisor, congratulations. But there's also another side where some of the students have a negative relationship with the supervisor. So that is the major problem will come through. Now you have to also admit that the supervisors is the one who's going to guide you through for you to achieve the institutional requirement before you graduated. So in such a case, the relationship with your supervisor, you need to be very, very careful and spend time in building it well. Interpersonal skills are welcome. For example, be respectful, be punctual, be responsive when your supervisor asks you, answer call, answer emails. If you're unwell, tell, instead of hide. If you're not prepared, reveal instead of conceal. If you found out that you have a problem about understanding, don't feel shy to ask the question. Supervisors are there to help. That is the function of the supervisor. And the fifth one will be motivation. Now, this is the one that sometimes it happens along the process of your research. You will find out that you are full with confidence at the first stage. You think you can conquer the world. Some of the students might thinking they want to choose the research to get the Nobel Prize. There's a lot of imagination as well as a lot of thinking when firstly you start your study. But after that, when you get to the middle, you might be hit. You might be highly expected. You might become discouraged because of the high expectation, because of the non-understanding parts, because of the highly requirement from your supervisors. You got cultural shock, etc. and etc. You know, sometimes, you know, those students that always think, you know, oh, you know, you are so lucky you can get to abroad and then you can further your study. Yes, but there's one, I believe, if you ask all of your supervisors who come back from their foreign country, one of the biggest challenges that we all face was the cultural shock that we need to overcome. You see, so that's the reason why the motivation itself starts to become in. And number 6 is the one that most of the students have this problem. Procrastinations on writing, right? You should periodically keep writing it, you know, instead of you waiting for it. Some of the students, they have the behavior saying that I need to write, but my idea is not yet. No, you write it out. You draw it. You use mind map. So I advise you to use mind map. You can draw it. You can even use bullet points. You can even jot down using PowerPoints, you know, as long as you keep writing it. You know, you can't really wait for the beautiful moment, quiet, sunshine or stars blinking, then only you see it. Right? No, there's no such best period apart from the period that you can create on yourself. So don't late in writing. Don't try to think writing come later. While you never know that actually writing takes up mostly 70% of the time, you know, so you have to make sure that you keep writing it. Any good ideas, jot down. Any good information you found, record it, tidy it up. All of these are very important to help you for the writing. Next, how do you show the progress to your supervisor? Now, I have to say that sometimes students are thinking in this way. When supervisor call, okay, I need to submit my work, then how am I going to answer? I just submit, right? Or maybe I'm thinking that I submit a lot will be better. No. Actually, supervisors try to evaluate in terms of the quality of your work, because the quality itself will reflect, have you learned something? Have you achieved the expected level? Have you already show and demonstrate your capability? That is the one that very important for you to know that showing quality is much more important than showing the quantity. Stress will always come in when you think that you want to work alone, you know, you never want to talk to people. So avoid this stress. Go for a better sports. Not 24/7 is about thesis. So you have to also strike the balance, particularly those who are mature students, masters or PhD. You might have kids. You might be a wife of somebody. You might be a husband for somebody. You know, you might be taking care of kids, or maybe you have another commitment. You are working part-time, or you're working full-time, you are studying part-time. So all of this striking in terms of the balance are the vital route for you to remain yourself healthy and less stressed. And last one is a poor study habits. You know, you never prepare yourself. You always think that you need to prepare everything, only you can start writing. No. Always think about progressive daily and also step by step. Not always think that I have to done everything in a big chunk. Write every day, write before you sleep. Spend 1 or 2 hours before you sleep when everything is quiet for you to think, for you to write. That's going to be helpful. So what I would like to conclude from the experience that I have on supervising my students, maybe it's true, maybe it's wrong, but I would say that most of the students, they're academically prepared. They just need trainings. But most of the students that cause them have a poor progress is like an iceberg, which usually they have personal and psychological challenges where they have ignored seriously. So in such a case, I would like to call all of you, or might be the lecturers out there, that is only the sincere sharing from me. When we assess the students' progress in terms of academic, we also need to make sure that the students are able to perform, and then we do not ignore about their personal as well as their psychological challenges. So far, so good. So as a life of a research students in terms of postgraduate students, I'd like you to take back for these. Treat your study is like a project, okay? And focusing on managing these 4 information or 4 parameters. Time, always remember deadlines. Utilize Gantt chart to help you for the planning, okay? And then sometimes you also, okay, for those who are fully sponsored, congratulations. For those who are self-sponsored, remember cost is the one that you need to always be careful in terms of budgeting. Achieve the quality means that achieve the research objective and also the institutional requirement from the university on the level that you need to perform to achieve to graduate as undergraduate, master's, or doctorate. And last one is documentation, right? Right now, we're all utilizing PC, laptop to work. We utilize software, spreadsheets. Keep well in terms of your documentation. Make copies, save somewhere in the cloud or somewhere safe, because there are always a lot of cases happens when the students want to submit. They found out that their computer become the biggest enemy. They shut down, they hang, the hard drive spoil, everything become an enormous nightmare for them. So there's lots of challenges ahead, as such as what you are saying is you always have to be self-motivated and persistent. Remember that you come so far away, you come to ITS, one of the best university in Indonesia, you start your undergraduate, your master, and your PhD. You remember the time that you come in, the motivation, the feeling of joy when you got accepted. Remember that and guide you through the entire process until you graduated from there and become the alumni of ITS. Actually, you would find when you're doing your master's, your PhD, I would like to share in this way, is a self-actualization that you would be very, very proud of once you graduated as a master's or PhD from ITS. That is the one that you will remember for life. Right, so I would like to recommend some of you as well to start to think about these research profiles. If you have time, you should. The first thing is get yourself registered to a proper email. Okay, so it means that if possible, go for a professional email. You know, instead of you're putting yourself, for example, Doraemon at or Mickey Mouse, you know, don't do that. Okay, because you have to start to establish your professionalism by putting yourself visible under all of these profiles. So you have Publons, I think you had that before, this under the Web of Science, the Scopus, the Google Scholar should be the first one you should register yourself in, and the ORC ID. This is the one that Open Researcher and Contributor ID. Okay. And for those articles that you have, you can always share in academia, or you can share in ResearchGate. And the last one, if I may, I would like to invite all of you also think, maybe some of you already have it, some of you might be in the process, register yourself under the LinkedIn. Now, this is where the platforms of meeting all the people, all the same colleagues into the same field, same expertise, same field of studies will be met together. Okay, So that is the one. So I would like to share a little bit like academia, okay, would be a platform to gather all of the papers. You can always gather them according to what are the types of the paper that you have published, and you can put under each of the folders. Okay, this is the one that you will invite a lot of views from the people outside there. Okay, that is an interesting one. And then you also registered yourself under the Google Scholar, okay, where you can also enjoy the citation when people citing your work. You can always be motivated to keep writing yourself more. And obviously the ORC ID. This is the one that you should also register yourself by utilizing a proper emails or institutional email, for example, at its.ed.it, okay? And then after that, you're able to get yourself an ID. This ID will be utilized along the publication. Next one is a research gate where you can share with the community by sharing them about the papers, upload the information over here where people also able to access your publication easily. Next, the Scopus is the one that you should also register yourself because it starts to collect all of the publication which is corpusly indexed. And after that, you will enjoy all the citation, which is also Scopusly indexed publication, which cite your work. Then after that, you get yourself traced in terms of the H index as well as the citation that you can always refer, right? So I hope that this is helpful. The next one will be Publong. This is the one that also under the Web of Science. So it's categorized under the index under the Web of Science. So you're able also to gather in terms of what are the publications that you have and then the publication that you got the citation. Another one is if let's say that you have some PowerPoints to share or whatsoever things that you want to share with people, SlideShare is also one of the common platform that everyone will share in terms of the PowerPoint. Okay, so over here, this is the place that we go for paperless. We can reach a wider audience out there when you have this platform with you. And then the last one, as I mentioned, would be the LinkedIn, where this is an online platform where you can perceive it's like just like an CV, and you can always register yourself and you connect with those people who might share the similar interests, similar discipline, etc. and etc. And from here, I can say to you, I connect with them, I conduct some of the discussion with them. Even some of them also share with me their opinion, which I can utilize as the input for my research. Okay, so that would be the one that I hope that you can take note. Okay, right. After we talk about the researcher life as a postgraduate students, right now we move to the second part, which we would like to look at research as your career. Now, most of us, we always think that only academicians or students that need to master the research skills. However, do you realize that the industrial practitioners also need to master the research skill? So if you've been positioned in a company or industry under the marketing, HR, NPD, new product development, new idea generation, you want to enhance the production efficiency, etc. and etc. That time when you face a trouble, you need to come up with a solution. It is good that you have perceived or have possessed certain kind of research skills in order to contribute to solve the problem. Now, as I mentioned that, apart from those who are always thinking about academician, as I say, the other jobs that related to the research would be research institution, consulting firms, government agencies, private companies or industries, as well as NGOs. So you might be aware right now why we should learn and also master the research skills, because remember, it is not only academics or universities which requires these research skills. Other opportunity, other career advancement, and other types of industries, research institute, consulting, government agency, private company, as well as NGOs, they also require these research skills from you. I always love to share with you for this because this is a case that I utilize because it is a real case that has been challenged all of us. How are we going to solve? So this is a real case that we can come and have a look together. Now imagine that you are marketing team leader for a mobile phone app, right? So right now we are all famous with the mobile application, right? And after you do the promotion, you have already got 1,000 customers who use the free version of your mobile app. Maybe you invented a Indonesian map or Surabaya map, for example. And this Surabaya map is the one that you are gathered all the favorite restaurants, all those very famous food you put on the map so that you help the travelers to come. Then after that, they can enjoy the food. They can go down the route, like a treasure trail in order to find the food, hunt the food. So you already have 1,000 customers. Imagine that. But because of the free version that you launch, many of your existing customers, 1,000 of them, are unwilling to pay for the paid version. While your company wants to increase the customer to 10,000 in 5 years to generate income via your mobile app. Okay, so the question is, what are the marketing strategy that you can use to get people sign up for the paid version on your mobile app and achieve the target as laid out by your company? This is a real situation, a real study, real situation that by the end of the day, you need to do market research. You can't just sit over there and thinking by your own self, because without understanding the market, you cannot follow or you cannot achieve what they require or what they demand. Because you already give them to utilize the free version. 1,000 people already signed up. How much do you need to charge? How do you charge? First one. How much do you need to charge? Your companies want it to be income generation, guys. 10,000 in 5 years. Is it viable? That's another question for you to think. How are you going to do promotion? Once you charge, maybe 1,000 customers will run away. You might left none that are going to stay there. But if you not charge it, how are you going to maintain and operate this app? So do you see, in a real situation, in the industries, you always have this trouble that you need to come up with the research skills to understand before you come up with your decision. So in such a case, I hope that you start to appreciate, okay, the quality as an industrial researcher that you must have is you have to be passionate about the work. And remember, the research takes time. Sometimes it can be frustrating because the experiment do not work. You need to repeat many times on the same technique until you find the result. You must comply with the organizational objective. So just get back to the previous situation. You need to talk to a lot of people. Whether do they agree for you to pay, for them to pay you, how much rupiah that they need to pay for you, how long is a subscription, how many people will support your apps, your company want 10,000, they want money from you. So there's a lot of contradictions as well as the problems that you need to resolve. That's why it's no more about coming with the idea randomly or picking the ideas from the air. Instead, you really need to listen, conduct the research, understand what the market wants to tell you. Then only you're able to achieve what you want to pursue as your organizational objective. So real life as a research under the SURES 2018, you found out that yourself as a researcher over here, you generate the idea, okay? Then after that, what you want to do is you're thinking about methodology and also the framework, what I should do. Then you enter into the real world problem solving situation. Like just now, the case of the apps. And you take part in the action so that you're able to reflect into involvement. What I should do? What are the information I should gather? Do I need to talk to the 1,000 customers that right now utilizing my mobile apps? Or do I talk to those non-1,000 customers? Means that those that potential outside there. That is the action that you need to take part. And after that, you lead to the findings. What are things that you can share and helps you to do a better decision making? Now, I also have time to find some of the information, particularly those that the current one from Indonesian advertisement that they're hiring on the research officer, right? So what you can see over here, this is something quite recent when they're looking for the research officer under MICRA, okay? And then this is on the 5th of March 2020. So over here, let's look at the job description and the requirement. So it asks that under the direction of Research Innovation Unit, the researcher will assist day-to-day research activity in a timely and accurate manner. And they need master bachelor degree in social science, economy, development study, agriculture. They need you to have minimum 2 years of experience in research activity. So right now you can start to comprehend and appreciate that you have adequate training when you do your study or you did your study in ITS. And after that, you need to have knowledge, intensive engagement with various forms of social activities. You cannot be alone. You cannot always think that, okay, you just come and report to me. You need to go down. You need to meet people. You might need to speak different languages, right? Like in Malaysia, we need to speak like different languages to go to different areas for data collection. You have to have the knowledge of qualitative and quantitative. You need to have a strong computer skills, organizational skills, attention to detail. You need to be willing to travel out of town, not just sitting in the office under the aircon, yeah, working under the demanding schedule. Don't always think that your respondents will cooperate with you. Some of your respondents might cancel their appointment. Proficiency in English, verbal and writing is an advantage. So this is the one that we call, okay, second one. It's also come from Indonesia, from Jakarta. And this is Transcosmos, Indonesia. And the job scope. So they ask you to do a call center assessment and research for new prospect and propose sales to the recommended service and operation models. So you need to create the new service to existing contact center project and prospect client. You have to collaborate with digital marketing service to create new service, and you back up the project management officer. So the requirement D3 or S1, experience in the same field for at least 1 year, and then they require you for the GPA, see the good analysis and presentation skills, good communication, fluent in English, both verbal and written, able to work with target under pressure, and have experience in digital marketing. Then the next one, we come on the research officer also. Okay, that is the one that yuk kirimkan CV-mu sekarang, right? So it's put in Indonesian, merencanakan penelitian bersama divisi research, mengkonsultasikan progres penelitian kepada ahli, mengumpulkan dan menggelora data, menulis laporan penelitian. And after that, the requirement, mahasiswa atau sarjana ilmu sosial, pengalaman meneliti menggunakan wawancara in-depth dan questionnaire. Betul? Tertarik dengan studi tentang keluarga, memiliki passion untuk bekerja dalam perusahaan sosial berorientasikan penelitian. So you see the criteria. And the last one also getting from another organization. So this is the research on impact of the regional dynamic of violent extremist of Islam communities in Indonesia. So the responsibility asks you to conduct the research at a specific location. You might need to do field observation. You have to do literature study. You have to do interview. And then you need to write the document, the reports, present the research to the team leader. You have to coordinate the team leader, the researcher during the research process. And you have to attend internal and external meeting. Requirement, at least master degree in social science, minimum of 5 years extensive and proven experience in policy research. Okay, so that is the way that you start to demonstrate your capacity because you're already well trained during your study in ITS. Excellent understanding and minimum of 5 years of hands-on experience in qualitative research, excellent writing skills, able to work well on a team as well as individually, conduct field research, have concern and experience in human rights, democracy, religious tolerance issues in Indonesia, and regional level. Then after that, if possible, then you can submit your CV and your writing in March 2019. So after we have seen from these 4 advertisements, right, calling for the research officer's position, we can start to realize that there are few skills additionally that will be required. For example, organizational skills. How do you remain efficient, accurate? How do you solve problems? How do you complete your task to achieve the organizational objective? How do you make sure that you're proper in time management, working under the demanding schedule? How do you do data analytical skills? There are some of it require qualitative, quantitative, correct? Some of them require you to do presentation skills, okay? And then you have to have a verbal and writing good English command. And then one of it also requires you to have a teamwork. And some of it might be asking you to have an open-minded on this case. So what we have seen from this situation is all of these advertisement and opportunity to further the research as your career are out there. And this career that really can bring excitement as well as learning process requires not only about the research skills as well as other soft skills that you need to have together so that you're able to perform and also develop your career along the process. Now, finally, I would like to say thank you for the participation and also attention. I hope that I already shared with you. The first one was about the research life as a postgraduate student, master's or PhD or doctorate, or even final year for the undergraduates. And after that, there are some of the elements about the researcher that you would like to take as a career. And both of them have also similarities in terms of the characteristic. And hopefully for all of you, I would say that good luck with your research process. And then for those who would like to pursue your research career, either in academic, NGO, public services, or private, or as well as a research institution or consulting firm, remember, always polish your skills, make sure that you're capable to learn as much as possible while you're studying in ITS. And after that, all of this will become a valuable competence for you to absorb and also practice in your workplace. With that, thank you very much for the time spent. And I'm looking forward for any question and answer to enrich our discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Chu, for the excellent presentation. There was a lot that you have covered. Initially, first of all, I would like to appreciate that you took the angle of the research student's point of view first. Yeah, the life strategy as a research student. And when you finished talking about that, I thought that was it. But then you opened up our mind. That was just the start. I mean, after you graduate, there's still the whole world of the, in your work, not only as an academician, but also wherever you work in the industry or in the government, NGO, and so on. Thank you for explaining all of that to us.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Before we move on to the questions and answer sessions, I just want to share my small research just now. FPTT is Fakulti Pengurusan Teknologi dan Teknowirausahaan. Is that correct?
Techno.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. I think we need to try to adopt the technopreneurship, because as far as I know, we don't have the Indonesian word yet for that.
Yeah.
Okay. There are some questions already in the link provided by the committee. There are some questions. Let me just open that up. So the first question comes from Iman Taufik Daulai from ITS. I'll just read the question from him. Currently, I know the methodology for the thesis from the subject that I followed. However, to create a problem, it's quite difficult due to some options to choose as a thesis. What should I do? For the references, I have collected them too. So, would you like to give some comments on that?
Okay, sure. I think I will give a general one instead of a specific one, because I have not got adequate information about your field of studies. But as I would say that the question is about the research problem, right, Dr. Irfan? Right, Dr. Irfan? Research problem. As we always realize, students tend to think research problem is the problem, masalah, you know, something that's so difficult. But apart from this original interpretation, research problem also carrying the meaning of what makes it worth for you to study. So if I may, I can share with you, there are approximately 4 or 5 types of research problem that you can think about it. And after that, you might be able to discuss with your supervisor. So the first one is a real problem, you know, real problem. For example, the company keep having the trouble, the turnover rate is too high, people leaving the job. So that is the first real problem. Okay. Second one is a problem, but this problem is not specific. This is a world problem. So some of you who are pursue the discipline about, for example, greenfield environmental studies, ICTs, we all share the common problems. For example, cybersecurity, climate change, you know, poverty, as well as terrorism. So all of these are common universal problems. So under the context of problem, I repeat, there are specific problem as well as the universal problem. Okay. Now, the next one would be, do you found any kind of under-research or any gaps that you want to fill up? So that is what we call theoretical problem. Now, for example, you found out the theory said so and so, but you found out that the theory has not been updated, or might be the theory already not come to the latest stage. For example, if let's say like today, we want to study, you know, the patient who are having their treatment in a hospital, and then the students thinking, sir, I would like to utilize customer satisfaction as my theory. Then I would tell him, no, this is not customer satisfaction anymore, because that should be something to do with patient satisfaction. So there's also a gap in terms of the theory where you want to bridge and change in terms of the customer satisfaction towards to the patient satisfaction. So that's a theoretical gap. The fourth one would be, we call as a methodological gap, where you found out that, okay, at the first stage, the study utilizing A method, and then you found you have a B method that you would like to test. You might be want to utilize new method, new approach, and then you would like to come up whether a similar result or different result. So you can conduct this type of study by utilizing from the angle of the methodological gap. So this also can consider as the research problem. Now, finally, the fifth one I always call as innovation, which also means that no problem, but we want to put something innovative idea on top of that. So it means that the things so far so good, not much problem, but we want to do something in order to enhance the value. Okay, for example, people always say, Okay, we can go for example, we already in the ICT platform, so we utilize online banking to solve the problem. Okay, so online meeting, online teaching is the one that platform we're utilizing right now when the world is under pandemic and social lockdown. But apart from continuing it, what are the innovative things that we can come up with? Maybe some of the people start to think, okay, we want to do VR, virtual reality. You know, apart from what we want to do about online teaching, we can do VR, we can even do about multimedia, maximization, utilization, or any kind of platform. So these will consider as the way that we want to topping up in terms of the problem that we want to put an innovative value on that. So far there are 5 types of research problem as I understand. And Dr. Irfan, I'm actually writing a paper out from it. So that's the reason why I did some study about this. So hopefully this is useful for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the really complete answer, Professor Chu. So yeah, so from the question, I think is Iman Taufik Daulay here? Would you like to confirm if you're happy with the answers? I think it's very complete though. And looking at his question, he has the methodology, but he doesn't have the problem. So, maybe
so it means that he might
methodology
want
gap
to look at the method
yeah,
gap.
yeah, method gap. Thank you very much. Okay,
thank you very much.
To the second question. Oh yeah, thank you. Right, now moving on to the second question. Ivan Yosef Wan Naibahu from ITS asks, how easy is it to be able to think and be able to connect ideas, theories, and problem solving in writing your thesis?
Right. I would say that it is not easy actually. If I may, we also, I mean, today we are here, we are sharing. It's not because we are wonderful, but because we learn through the process. And some of the do and don'ts also, I hope that we are sharing because we do not want you to get back to the trap that we have faced before. So if you ask me, how are you going to connect each of these? I would say that don't be rushed by connecting all of these. Instead, start with a good idea first. And these good ideas, after you have found, then you're able to connect with the theoretical preposition or theoretical foundation that we would like to do. Don't worry about the next step. Always remember, the first step is very important. And then if you always think that, you know, you already done rightly about your idea, the connections will come in easily. So my advice is don't rush, go through step by step, able to come up with the idea is the one that will going to help for the next stage. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I see that Iman Taufik is here. Pak Iman, would you like to say something about the earlier question, not this one, the current one?
Yes, Pak Irfan, I'm here.
Okay, Pak Iman, please, would you like to add some, maybe specific topic or methodology that would you like to consult?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Irfan and Mr. Chu. So currently I'm studying in master degree in management technology in ITS. So my study program is industrial management. So actually, I already discussed with one of my professor when I was in undergraduate. So he suggests me to use the multi-criteria decision maker. Actually, we just finished our subject, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. So using the methodology of analytical hierarchy process combined with TOPSIS. So from that methodology, I quite confident to use this methodology to make the thesis. But my problem is a lot of problem that suitable for the thesis. So now I quite confused which one to to bring as a thesis. So in my, I also think that whether if I take this problem as a thesis, whether this is good enough, and then this is enough as for thesis, or maybe enough for the, for the future. And for your information, I'm working in local shipyard in Riau Island in Indonesia. I think that's all from my side, Mr. Chu and Pak Irfan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Iman. I think because I cannot totally understand the situation, so maybe I give you one example which is quite close to my experience when I supervising a students. Okay, when we come to this methodological gap, we always found out that in management studies, most of the students, they are giving a lot of opinion, not giving, they are collecting a lot of opinion, from the survey and the respondents. So for example, when they say about business performance, always they go for those respondents. For example, they go for the SME, they want to check whether this strategy helped them to enhance their business performance. And most of the time, based on the Likert scale that they distributed, these respondents are able to answer agree, disagree, strongly agree or strongly disagree within the Likert scale that they have. So in such a case, we found out that by the end of the day, the students basically just merely reporting on those opinion data. So there's no backup in terms of how much actually the strategy A that being utilized that will enhance the business performance for that company. That is the first question. So in such a case, you found out that more of the students will keep repeating the similar process. Okay, I distribute a survey, I get an opinion, then after that, I'm able to answer the question. Yes, the question is okay, but that's not fantastic. In a sense that the business performance only being interpreted by good, no good, high or low. Whereas there are figures for them to realize, for them to understand whether is it enough or not enough, how good is good or how bad is not good, So utilizing management science, we call operational research, is another method that will come up with another way to recollect the information, but this time support by the real data from the business performance or a real data from production. We are not talking about high-low productivity. How much is the real productivity when you adopt this method? For example, you want to adopt lean manufacturing, right? How much achievement that you can go for it. So when you have another data that back you up as a final dependent variables, or I would say as an outcome, it starts to mix everything very clear because the method already revealed in terms of the evidence, and this evidence can be supported by the data, mathematical formulation, as well as the mathematical calculation. So I would like to say is, Mr. Iman, whether this is the one that going to be fulfilled of your masters, I think it's good that you can discuss with your supervisor because it's always have the institutional requirement. But remember, one of the contribution and one of the research problem, as I mentioned, methodological gaps is indeed one of the way that you can always come in and propose with a new method and give a fresh light or fresh insight in terms of the study that you want to go for. So I would say that is a good research, but how big, that is the question, how big in order to adequately comply with the institutional requirement so that you can get a master out from this research project. That is the one that you should require to refer to your supervisor.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chu. But actually, I want to continue my question if still have the time, Pak Irfan. But
okay, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Irfan. So, Mr. Chu, according to your presentation, so you mentioned about the paradox, in my opinion. For example, you mentioned there that company wants to increase the number of customers, But in other side, they also want to increase the price. So this has happened what I face here. So I'm in commercial department. So following all the tender and then looking for the customers and then make the customer satisfied to our goods and services. So every day I'm facing the paradox. I mean, my boss wants, oh, I need more customers, for example. Then you should increase your price. You should increase your profit. So because costing also under my department. So in my opinion, if I choose this methodology, I mean, from the AHP and the top 6 combination, using the we call multi-criteria decision making. So in my opinion, this methodology can make a solution or solve the problem with this paradox. So what do you think about this, my opinion, sir?
Yes, Iman. That's why I mentioned that. You see, conventional studies about management, people, when, for example, your boss asks you to say that I want to increase the price, I want to get the customers. That is a paradox. How much do you want to increase and how much customer that you want me to have? So most of the management people are go through the process of brainstorming. So they keep shouting up the numbers. But what is the numbers that can maximize the return for the customers, the maximum points that we want to go for? Simply like the linear programming process. What is the point that intervene in terms of the pricing and as well as the customer that you really can come back? So as I mentioned, that there's a lot of method in terms of understand and also determine this solution. That's why when you have a proper scientific multiple criteria decision-making approach, then you're able to come to a better conclusion. That is the one that we really appreciate. And secondly, Mr. Iman, I believe when you have these multiple criteria for decision-making, you start to have more and more variables that you can put in order to come up with your model, correct? You might have time, you might have price, you might have quantity. You might also need to have also what types of these customers profiles that you want to go for. Is it male or female? So a lot of variables starts to make sense when you're utilizing a new approach in order to determine it. That's the beauty of utilizing different approach by looking into the similar research and come up with either similar findings or different findings. It doesn't really matter. But we appreciate the method itself start to shed a new light into the research. That is what we appreciate. Yeah.
I see. So actually, I already do some little research. I try to search from the Google and then to collect all the thesis, all the academic writing. So if I propose using this methodology, nobody has done this before. So in my opinion, this is the great point for me to if I use this methodology and the problem. The second thing, my question, Mr. Chu. So what do you think if we combine with the statistic knowledge? I mean the statistical methodology, because in statistic methodology quite different with multiple criteria decision making. For example, if we have the set of data from respondents, for example, from the questionnaire question. So if we use the statistical methodology, we can analyze all the raw data, whether this is correlative each other or not, and then we can use the software using the Minitab or the SPSS, something like that. But if I use directly the raw data using this multi-criteria decision-making methodology, we don't need to analyze this raw data, whether has the correlation or whatsoever, significance or whatever. Then no need to use the software such as the Minitab or the SPSS. So in your opinion, what should I do? Whether should I combine with the statistical methodology first, and then I use the multi-criteria decision making using the raw data after processing by the statistical methodology. That's all, Mr. Chu. Thank you very much.
Sure, no problem. So this would be merely my sharing, my opinion. So you can always have a consideration, and after that you can discuss with your supervisor and see how he or she thinks. The first thing is the principles, which methodology that you're going to use is always need to be guided by your research objective. We have to remember that. So it is always remember that not necessarily we must over design, but we have to also understand what are the purpose if we have multiple design and multiple analysis on that. So for example, if let's say like you are started with your statistical analysis, you also need to make sure the data that being analyzed itself will be those that error free at the first stage, you know, those data input. So always remember, I always take the raw data from a very reputable organization. So I seldom take from personal data. The fundamental reason is because I know there's a lot of violation in terms of validity and reliability for the raw data. You know, people tend to achieve something and then they might have the manipulation in terms of the data. That's the reason why, if let's say like you can source the raw data itself and gone through your statistical analysis, then this comply with one of your research objective, then I would say fantastic. But if let's say like you found out that the statistical analysis is already those that being done and you do not know whether it's reliable or valid, then you utilize it, then you put into your secondary analysis, which you're going to use for my multi-criteria for decision making. Then the first question I would like to ask you is, would you carry on the contamination of the data? You get what I mean? The data might be contaminated because a lot of manipulation might out from that. So that's the reason why you better source from those original data, which is reliable. Then you perform your test out from there. And then before you perform your test, remember to check back your research objective to see whether it's required for you to do so. That's a very important thing for you to consider.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chu.
Thank you. Right.
Thank you for the answer, Prof. Chu, and thank you for the questions, Pak Iman. All the best for your research.
Welcome, Pak.
Right, now let's move on to the.
Thank you.
Now move on to the next question from Bapak Heru Budi Prasetyo from ITS. Let me just read the question. So thank you for your sharing, Prof. Chu. So number one, as you have presented about the personal challenges as a researcher, there is a time management problem that we are facing to finish our research progress. But actually, what I am facing for this semester of studying in master's program is that everything is going abnormal. As I am a student parallelly as an engineer at field of project from my company, there are so many planning in my head or in my note paper. If I write it down as a Gantt chart, maybe it would take more than 10 times revision because of many activities that requires my time to do my job at the field. Some of them are incidental. What do you think about this? So I think it is about interruptions to the plans. And then number two, what have you done? What you have done for finding a new idea for your research before?
Okay, so I come back to the first one about the time management. Okay, I have to say to you, time is the commodity and everybody is just allocated with 24 hours. And what you should do is always remember this commodity cannot be bought by anything. It is the most precious commodity that you have. So what I would like to say is basically the Gantt chart that I propose is just a way to guide you through about the phases. but don't overthink by designing it into too detailed, or maybe you thinking that if you miss any due dates or any date, then you feel absolutely bad about yourself. No, this is not the reason that you do Gancha. So I would say that understand yourself as a person who are working at the same time, understand the pandemic gives us enough headache. I would say that in a way, maybe you can start to think, how are you going to utilize your expertise as well as your availability in your workplace by designing or importing or change your research idea or research area by accommodating your working place, if possible. Now, this is also one of the strategies we are helping all those working students, because they are the one who have to juggle a lot of things together. Some of them, they have to take care of family, working, studying, a lot of things. So usually when we started to supervising them for their master's or PhD, the first thing is we would like to ask them is how comfortable you are and how confident you are able to get the data. Now, everything can be done easily in a sense that you're able to get all your chapter 1, 2, 3 by the management under your supervisor. We're able to guide. The only things that start to make it difficult is when you want to get your data collection. So this is the major problem that most of the students are facing. If possible, I would advise just now what I said, relate to the workplace and able to obtain the data from your workplace and then put into your study, if possible. Then it will help to alleviate and also try to reduce the pressure that you have by complying both your job of the deadlines as well as the timelines that you need to finish your study, where you might also facing a lot of challenge after all. So that would be the first I would like to say. The second one is, how do I get the idea? I'm the person who always love to read, and I always love to read things and also listen. I always develop myself a habit where I always, reading newspapers, okay, watching news from the world news. I still have my a little bit habits where, because I graduated before from outside, from the UK, so I still used to read the news, from BBC, looking at the newspapers, check their parts where they have always scientific discovery, particularly in BBC, the website, it has the science or technology discovery, watching more types of documentaries, talk with people, all of these could be a very good input to keep you updated with the information that you would like to gain in truth. So that would be my little trick where I update myself in order to get more ideas. Yeah, hopefully the suggestion was helpful.
Thank you. Pak Heru, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I think it's enough, Pak Ivan and Mr. Chu. Thank you very much for your suggestion.
No problem, Mr. Heru. Thank you.
All right. There are no questions left in the link that has been provided, so I will open the chance to anyone who wants to raise their hand, maybe directly, and you can ask the question because we still have just a few more time.
Yeah, so I welcome any questions. If you have, don't worry. I try to help to share my experience or anything. Yeah.
Anyone?
Jangan segan-segan, jangan malu-malu.
Yeah, exactly. Jangan sungkan-sungkan. Jangan sungkan-sungkan. And oh, there's one question here in the Zoom chat box from Mark Owen.
Yeah, can you describe the average day as a researcher of the graduate study, especially since you are no longer rushing for graduation? Okay, as an academician, you mean, yeah, as a researcher? If let's say like I fairly to distribute, let's say like 7 days, take out Saturday as my family time because I always need to take a break. So Sunday is a time for me to prepare for Monday work because I'm also running offices and also teaching. So with my 6-7 days, I have 6 days left. I'll spend almost 2 days for my teaching, 2 days for my administration, and 2 days for supervision, as well as to equip with the research ideas, any of the publication that I can write, any new things that I found. Yeah, I spent almost 2 days, 2 working days, okay, 2 working days. So that is a time that I would see my students. I do not want to see, I do not want to have meetings. So there's a time that I can start to spend a little time on reading things, and also adequate myself for some new ideas. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Prof. Chu, and thanks for the question, Mark Owen, because I think I should take note of the Professor Chu's answer for that. 2 days a week for research, juggling with all the other work that we have, Prof. Chu. Okay.
Yeah, because by the end of the day, I mean, in our university, we always need to remain supervision, teaching, productive in terms of publication. So I found out that if we not spend time enough, then it started to make us very, very stressful. So 2 days management, 2 days of teaching, 2 days of supervision, and also research. So it's just wonderful. And I love to do it by Friday because I feel fresh. Oh, tomorrow is Saturday, so I can take a rest. So yeah, that is the reward that I'll have after I read a lot of things. Yeah.
Thanks for the tips, Professor Chu. Right, because it's already almost time, so I think that concludes our session today. Thank you very much, Professor Chu, for the excellent presentation and discussions in the Q&A session. And I think that's all for the presentation session and also Q&A from myself. I will end this, and I apologize for my mistakes, and I'll give the chance back to the MC. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Irfan.
You're welcome, Professor.
Yeah. Thank you for the excellent presentations, Prof. Boon Cheng Chiu. Okay, for the next sessions, for the operator, please move to the next slides. We would like to give our token of appreciations to the speaker today. This is our certificate of appreciation to the Associate Professor Boon Cheng Chiu. Thank you for your fellow contribution to us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here.
Yeah, okay. Please move to the next slides. We would like also to give our appreciations to Bapak Astria Nur Irfansyah PhD as the moderator for the sessions today.
Terima kasih, Mbak Yasinta.
Yeah, okay. Please move to the next slides. Okay, this is our last sessions of the soft engineering program, and we would like to have taking pictures together as our memories that this is the final sessions of our last week. Pak Seno, would you please to take picture of all of us? And also for all the participants, please turn on your camera. Okay, are you ready? Pak Seno mulai taking pictures ya. Minta tolong. For all the committee, okay. Please smile. Okay, please smile. 3, 2, 1. Okay, please move to the next slides, Pak Seno. Please move to the next slide, Pak Seno. Yeah. Please smile. 3, 2, 1. Okay, please turn on your camera. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Smile. Okay, thank you for all the participants today, and thank you for Professor Boon for your presentations today. And we will see maybe in the next semester for the other recepts program. And thank you. You may leave the room for all participants.
Okay, so thank you very much, guys.
Thank
See you
you.
guys
Bye.
soon.
Thank
Take
you very
care.
much, Professor
Keep
Chu.
working hard for your masters and PhD.
Thank you.
Keep
Thank you,
working
Prof.
hard. Take
Thank you,
care.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Chu.
Thank you.